Good morning. Today is the 10th day of First Adar and the 19th of February. We're on page 130 in Mitzvat Machatzit HaShekel. We're about 4 lines from the top, or 3 lines at the very end. ומשם נמשך מזון לענוקבה נקרא כנסת ישראל להיות לקוח להעלות מן. So we said from Moshe Rabbeinu, his wanting to elevate the people, the congregation of Israel, by giving them sustenance. And he's, because of that, called the shepherd of faith. And something we ended with yesterday that I should have maybe expounded a little bit more on is that Moses, no, we did learn. We weren't here. You didn't miss much. Moses is called the shepherd of faith, Raya Mehemna. And Raya Mehemna in the Zohar is the third function. There's Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef, and Raya Mehemna. And in every generation there's one of these, at least one of these. The difference is...
Of course not all. There's one of these. I understand.
No. All 3 of them.
Oh, okay.
All 3 of them exist in every generation.
Okay.
Except the Mashiach ben David is a potential in someone. Someone who's like that.
Could be that.
Mashiach ben Yosef is, in every generation, it's like a leader who takes care, like Joseph, of physically getting the people, giving them what they need. And Raya Mehemna is the one who teaches Torah. It's very interesting that the Rambam, he takes all 3 figures. He didn't see the Zohar, but he takes all 3 figures and he meshes them into one. And that's his final Mashiach. Like in the Mashiach that comes at the end of history, he will enmesh all 3 characteristics together into one person. So he says in the beginning of his life, he's Hogeh b'Torah keDavid Aviv u'Matzliach, that he studies Torah like King David. What does it mean? Matzliach, and he succeeds. Succeeds means the halacha is like him. The people follow him in halacha. And then he becomes Mashiach ben Yosef. He doesn't call him Mashiach ben Yosef. He just says, and then he'll do 3 things that will make him bechizkat Mashiach, he calls it, like potentially Mashiach. And then finally he'll build a Beis HaMikdash, and that will be the sign that he is the final Mashiach also. But again, in the Zohar and in other literature, it's clearly 3 different tasks. So it could be by 3 different people. But still, there's a difference between them, that what we call the Mashiach ben David, there can really only be one. Mashiach ben Yosef, there can be many in every generation. And Raya Mehemna, there can be many. It doesn't have to be necessarily just one person. Except for the function of, if you're talking about his ability to rule legally, halacha. In that case, there really is one, meaning there should be a person that everyone follows. Okay? But in terms of teaching Torah to people, being the Raya Mehemna, being the shepherd of faith, there can be many people. It doesn't have to be necessarily one person. The point is, though, in the Rambam, that he wants to enmesh all 3 together. He wants to weave them together into one figure. And he says that figure, that's the figure that we're waiting for when we talk about the Mashiach, and there's a good reason for why he has to contain all 3 faculties. Okay, in any case, so the Raya Mehemna of the generation, the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation, he's the one who shepherds faith and he sustains faith. And what does it mean to sustain faith? It means to give the nukva of Zah, the female counterpart of Zeir Anpin, to give it these, or half of these 5 aspects of loving kindness. And we said that half really means the bottom 2/3. The top third goes to Zah, the top third goes to the male side, Zeir Anpin, the small countenance, and the bottom 2/3, they go to his female counterpart who stands behind him with her head up to her chest, up to his chest. And then he says, so he gives a vukinyan yeminot chabkeni. Sorry, I skipped a few crucial words. Liot lakoach le'alot man, in order to give her the strength to raise feminine waters. Mayim nukvin. What are feminine waters? It's called the awakening of the feminine. The feminine needs to awaken How do you awaken? What does it mean that you awaken the feminine? So it says in Chazal that when a husband is with his wife, he can't just come to her. He has to first of all awaken her. What does it mean to awaken her? To speak kind words, to say many, many words of kindness. That is even sometimes called divrei ahava v'chesed, words of love and kindness. And those words of love and kindness, so here they're not coming in the form of words. It's not exactly words that he's giving, although it is also words. Because if he's teaching Torah, so those are words of love and kindness that Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation is speaking to the people to awaken their feminine side. And when he awakens their feminine side, then they're ready to raise feminine waters. Feminine waters means that they're ready to act on their own. They're ready to become proactive. In a husband and wife, what it means is that there's an awakening of the female seed. That's what they used to call it. In other words, there's enough awakening in the body that it can become inseminated, that conception can happen. And this is very similar to a different thing that we talk about, which is called his right hand will envelop me. And the male having to hug the female, to heat her up, as it were. This is not the insemination. This is before that. It's called a b'chinat makif. And through this awakening from the outside, it's something still external. It's like when I speak to people Torah, they don't immediately jump up and start davening. It's not like they don't do it at the same time. But it's these words of Torah that afterwards affect them. So that's why a very important custom in Chabad, for instance, to learn some Chasidus before you daven. Why? Because you need that heat, that warmth of the Torah to wake you up so that something can happen. So you raise, it's called, again, the feminine waters. And then, after she's awakened, and her seed is awakened, that's called the feminine waters, then the male is inseminates also. He gives his seed, and that already, when he gives his seed, that's already an internal sustenance. That's not just from the outside, it's not just surrounding light, as it were. And then, from that meeting of the female waters and the masculine waters, from that comes a conception of a child. What's the child? The child is, as he explains in the Tanya in length, the children of this type of connection are the new midos, the new character traits that a person gains from this kind of interaction with godliness. וכמו כן יובן למעלה שיש שני מיני מד, האחד עניין התעוררות דלילה לעורר את האהבה, מקבלים ממלכות האצילות, שיהיה למלכות וחיילין דילה, נשמות ומלאכים כוח ועוז להיות שוקתם באהבה נפלאה להתפשט מכל הגבלה ולהיות עולים ונדבקים במקור הדקולה, כמו שכתוב בזוהר, הפסוק למען נזמר ככבוד וכו'. So it says, the first, this same thing is now to explain to us a very important topic in Kabbalah and Chasidus, that before any awakening from below, there has to be an awakening from above. What's the difference? Because the idea is that there's an awakening from above to cause the awakening from below, and then another awakening from above. So what's the difference between the first and second awakenings from above? So he says the first awakening from above is really only to give the feminine strength in order to awaken herself, and that is always a makif. It's always a surround. It doesn't integrate into her. It just awakens. It's these things that are really, they're not integrated into the person. The person only hears it as something external, but it's enough to awaken him. And the way it's described sometimes is that it's like to give it to the feminine and her hosts, chayalin dila. Who are her hosts? Her souls and her angels. Those are words that mean to say that there are many, when a person awakens to something, that let's say he now decides that he's going to start a new business. So it's not just, if you look at it from just a bird's eye view from above, you see that the person suddenly has this awakening and he decides to take initiative and he's going to do something. But if you take a course in entrepreneurship, then you'll see how many things need to go along with that burst of energy. There's so many things that need to be in place. So if you're learning business, so you'll say you're going to have cash flow, and you need employees, and there's all these things that you have to have happen together in order to start this new business. It's not just you. It's not just the impetus to now go and do something. So when we talk about this in Torah, they didn't talk about business and say cash flow or things like that. What they said was her soldiers, her hosts, meaning her workers, as it were, and her angels, and even angels. What are these? What are these angels? Angels are like ideas in this case. The hosts are the workers, the ones that are going to be doing things. In the ancient world, when they said angels, right, they didn't mean things with flappy wings. They meant ideas. Basically, that's what they meant. Every angel is what we call sechen nivdal. The Rambam calls it. The Rambam needed to translate. Rambam was before us at least 1,000 years. So he had the benefit of being more aware of what people meant, what people used to mean when they said an angel. Today, when you say an angel, you have no clue what you're talking about, because it's a word we use.
Didn't like that
Huh?
word. Time Clarifin told me the Rebbe did not like that translated into angels, supernal beings.
Okay.
We had some Christian.
Okay, yeah.
But he was very.
In any case,
Yeah.
we don't know what this thing is. We don't know. When you say supernal being, I'm just as baffled
That's
as.
right.
Okay, so it's not an angel, but the point is, the Rambam was closer to the ancient usage, so he tells us what they meant. The problem is that we don't use his wording anymore either. So he says sechel nivdal. Sechel nivdal. Most people don't even know what it means, but he repeats it 100 times in his books, at least 100 times, maybe 1,000 times. Sechel nivdal, like you would say, a distinct mind. What's a distinct mind? And I don't know, I had a distinct mind, so I only had one brain. What's a distinct mind? A distinct mind would be like saying Pythagoras' theorem, that if you have a square angled triangle, a triangle that has an angle of 90 degrees, then the sum of the square of the two sides is equal to the square of the hypotenuse. That's a second nivdal.
Because an angel has one task.
It's one thought.
Yes.
But it's a general concept that a person can grasp, separate from physical reality. It's not ingrained in physical reality. It's something that's why it's called nivdal. Nivdal means that it's separated, distinct from physical reality. It's a truth that's always true, regardless of what the situation on the ground is. It's always true. Wherever you go, all the triangles will act the same way. If you actually draw a triangle, you'll see that and you'll measure this, you'll see that this is true. So that for him that's an angel for him. So it's the same thing if you know how to add and subtract. You're using angels. There's an angel of addition. There's an angel of subtraction. Which one is which? Michael is the angel of addition. And Gabriel is this angel of subtraction. It's easy. And then the multiplication is who? Multiplication is the Tiferet. So who's the angel of Tiferet? Raphael. Raphael is the angel of Tiferet. So when you do a multiplication, you're using the angel called Raphael. You have to make this dictionary, like we said. You have to make a dictionary because been around for a while. You can't expect people to not develop. So we've developed a lot since 3,500 years ago. So what they meant back then was what we mean now by a particular act of knowledge or truth that we use, and that's an angel. In any case, So all these are awakened in order to be able for her to begin to rise, to do something. As it says in the Zohar, Leman is amircha chavod, so that the kavod is the malchus, it's the feminine, should be able to sing to you. So singing, here's another thing full of angels, or supernal beings. Every note that you have in a tune is like another, because the notes, whether you use a 7-part scale, 12-part scale, 16-part scale, whatever it is, each one of them is like a supernal being. It's an angel that you're using. So he's going to sing. And so how do they sing? They have instruments, and the whole symphony together. That's what we want the feminine to awaken to. You want the feminine to be able to sing. So the feminine is also you. You're also feminine because you have a feminine counterpart in each one of us. And that's the part of us that would go daven. Okay? So the question is, what am I davening like? If I'm davening, just saying the words, okay, so there's an awakening, but it's not very big. But if I'm davening and I'm singing the words, then I'm at a completely different level. I'm now at a level where there's much more going on. There's more hosts. There's angels with me. The whole thing is a different story altogether. So that's what Moshe Rabbeinu tries to do. He tries to give us these words of love and kindness, and these words awaken us to act in a different way, completely different way. And that's what a person gets from his Rebbe, from his Moshe Rabbeinu. וזהו כעניין הנ"ל בפירוש ראה אמונה, למטה לפרנס האמונה בהשם, המשכת אור אינסוף לגדלה ולחזקה. כמו כן למעלה מפרנסים לכנסת ישראל הדרך הנ"ל. In the same way that Moshe Rabbeinu does this below, so it's done above. Exactly what is done above means that the entire congregation of Israel, and the same thing that happens in the individual, is also echoed in the entire congregation of Israel. Vasheni, humad. And the second type, the second side, the second half of these chasadim, of these loving kindness, they become mad. Sorry, no, we were talking about something else. We said the first type of awakening from above, that's a makif. It's only to get the whole thing going. So it's sort of like a conductor of a symphony. That's what he's doing. But the second type of awakening, the type of awakening that now comes as a response to the awakening from below, the awakening of the female, which causes a response from the male. Meaning, people go to therapists to figure out how to have a better marital life. This is the therapist. He explains everything, the whole theory on one page. You don't have to go to the therapist. You can hear it here. The only problem is the women need to hear this. But in that case, the male has to speak words of love and kindness. Then there's an awakening from the female. And because of that, the male is awakened. This is something that women don't know, is that even though women are very modest, they don't want, it's not just modesty, it's an inner quality, it's an inner sense inside of them. They know they can't initiate. The initiation has to come from the male. But the initiation is not jumping into right away everything. The initiation has to be, like people say, like romance. Yeah, you have to get me going. But if that happens and you're not awakened, then the real awakening from the male doesn't happen. The second awakening. So there's an awakening from the male, which is a makif, like romance, like we said. Then the female's awakened, and when she's awakened, and he feels that she's like in a symphony now, that's when he really awakens. Otherwise, the whole process is not complete. So they didn't learn this from marital relations. They learned this from how the Zohar discusses things. This is like the whole crux of it. But you can learn from this easily to how to improve people's marriage. So then, because of that, the male awakens a second time, mad acharaman, a male awakening after the female awakening, and that's called the yichud. That's called the unification of the Kutchabrichu, the Almighty, and the Shechina, and His divine presence, lolid neshamot v'malachim achar ha'ala'at man, in order to give birth to new souls and to new supernal beings, and this follows after the feminine waters have awakened. So it's a whole new host. It's a whole new thing altogether. It's not what she awakened with in the beginning. The beginning, the symphony that she had, is one thing. But the giving birth now is immediate. There's immediately a giving birth. Okay? So, as known to those who have studied, and he says, we're not going to expand on this anymore. Okay? So tomorrow we'll start talking about the half and half. Because that's the Machatzit HaShekel. Machatzit HaShekel is the giving of the half from Yesod Abba, from Moshe Rabbeinu. Half goes to the masculine and half goes to the feminine. But he doesn't give it directly to the feminine. It's the masculine that has to give to the feminine. We'll talk more about that tomorrow.